welcome to our second video interview, with our previous Global Forum winners. Like maybe someone who is watching now this doesn't know, but you won the grant in 2018 from Youth Global Forum. You made a project wellness center for helping young people, like to prevent suicide, anxiety, and all of following mental health illnesses. So, like my first question would be, what changed from 2018 to now, like 2 years after the project was settled down in the Guyana, in like small country in South America?
Yeah, so well, definitely a lot has changed from winning the grant in 2018 to now. The organization has grown tremendously, and we have been offering a wider range of services as opposed to when we first started. Of course, a lot has changed from about February to now in light of the pandemic, but the organization is flourishing, it's growing. We have been seeing a lot more persons reaching out in terms of actually being open to receiving mental health care, which when we first started, a lot of persons were hesitant, but they still reached for the services, especially the in person services. We had to switch to the online services, but we're still seeing persons being more receptive as the time progresses as it relates to acquiring these services.
So you were also adapting as a previous Quality Education Matters project, like you are also going online. I know that the whole business now is going online, but the problem is with NGO organizations, because usually if we are talking about economical breakdown, we are talking only in the sense of big companies, what will happen with them. But with NGO organizations who are like founded by, I don't know, one project founder or someone else, no one is actually taking care. So like this year, because of the pandemic and this situation, you launched one online mental consultants. Like what is happening with that project? Like how are you helping actually people?
Yeah, so that has been one of the best choices that we've made because at the beginning of the pandemic, we were trying to figure out, okay, how exactly do we shift from being primarily an organization that offered in-person services, like in-person support groups, in-person counseling, to shifting online. And people in my country, they're not usually open to going online for certain things because it's less, it's less personal when it's done online. But we decided persons need the help, they're reaching out. Our numbers have spiked significantly from May to now as it relates to the persons that reach out through our Facebook page. So we decided, what can we do? Let's try the online counseling. So in September, we launched the online mental health counseling clinic, and the response has been amazing. Persons have been reaching out within about 3 to 4 days. We had to actually close the appointment system because the appointments were fully booked for the entire month, well, for the balance of September and the entire month of October. So the response has been great. Persons have been actually utilizing the counseling and not just utilizing it for one time, but actually continuing with it for a longer period. So it's just been really interesting to see that persons are utilizing it and getting the necessary help.
And like now, when we are talking about the mental health during pandemic in 2014, like the we had global research about mental health, and Guyana, your country, was announced as if I would say, the first in the world of amount of suicide committed there. It was like 44%. I would per year. And what changed till then? Like what changed so far? Like do you see any impact, any changes that can be done? Because I assume that the situation now is much more worse than it was a few years ago.
Okay, so actually, contrary to that thought, I know the situation right now is present in the pandemic. It's definitely tough, but luckily, if I could use that word, Guyana has seen a drastic reduction in its numbers. So we went from being 44.2% per every 100,000 in 2014. So as of the 2019 report, we were down to 29.4% for every 100,000. So that has been a significant reduction. We are not sure what the numbers will be like during this year, but so far, the reports that I would have received or would have seen from the local ministry, it has not had a significant spike in suicide. We've had more of a significant spike in persons reaching out for help which shows that there's a shift in the narrative. Persons are no longer just taking, okay, the so-called easy way out, as in, okay, this is too much for me and I just want to end it. But persons are actually putting in the effort, and they're fighting for what they should fight for, that's for their life. And I'm very happy to know that the Wellness Center would have been playing a part in that, because we have been doing a lot of campaigns relating surrounding suicide, surrounding mental health and well-being. So we know that we have made a significant impact in that. Persons are no longer just, I feel down, I feel depressed, there's no one there to help me, I commit suicide. But no, they actually know that people are there to help them, and they're reaching out for that help. So that makes me feel as though we've made a small enough impact so that we can continue doing the work.
So your organization actually helped, and we can prove it by numbers, like to decrease the number of suicide among young people, and not just young people in Guyana, right?
Definitely, not just my organization, but collective efforts from other NGOs and from the health ministry as well. But definitely, we played our part.
Well, this is great job. Only 5 years passed, and it was decreased for 20 or even more percent of committed suicides. And while I was reading in your report, it was mentioned that the reason of those suicides were, okay, like poverty, like that people couldn't find a job. You also said that you couldn't find a job even if you have 2 university degrees, and that once when you found it out, that it was like that you were super happy, and your family or people were like, really congratulations, because you need to be, I don't know, like superwoman or superman, like just to get a job in your small country. Did anything change so far, like in this, like in the job researching or market researching, or it is the same?
Unfortunately, no, that has not changed, and the pandemic has it's made it worse, 10 times worse than it was before. So I'm afraid to see what the unemployment figures will be like at this year, and I don't even want to think about what it's like, because I've had so many persons reached out to me to tell me that they lost their job during the period. And not only have they lost their jobs, is that other companies aren't going to hire for anytime soon because of the pandemic still affecting them economically. So we are not sure what is going to happen, but definitely I know that there's going to be a significant increase in unemployment, which means that it's going to continue to take a toll on people mentally. And I know for a fact that there was one person, I don't remember the exact month, I think it was about May, that somebody would have committed suicide because of the fact that he lost his job. He was trying to get another job for just about 2 weeks, and he just couldn't take it anymore because his needs were that great that he knew that, okay, if I don't have a job, I can't survive, and he chose to end his life. And I empathize with people like that, but I know that it is tough. But I just trust that we can find some way forward as soon as possible.
So you're the one who is finding actually the way to help young people. Like last week while we were talking and building the preparation for this interview, we were talking especially about our personal experience with young people, like with our friends, and we concluded that no one is spared of this situation, that this pandemic affected us in various different ways. For example, now we are having home office, and for example, it's me, the impact of this, for me, it's like really disaster. I feel isolated, like in the prison. Even if I'm not in the prison, I feel like really I don't have my, normal state of life. So what could we recommend to our, like to all young people who are struggling with same or even more difficult problems now in the world that are facing with losing the job, changing the way of normality that they are used to it? What can we actually say to them, like how can we, like now after watching this interview, how can we actually help them to be like more brave, more stable, and actually to think about their mental health?
Yeah, that has been one of the main challenges of this period, because as you mentioned, you're feeling as though you're in a prison. When it is that the lockdown first happened, I myself was feeling as though I was in a prison, and it was not easy mentally because you just couldn't do anything. And of course, working from home, being at home 24/7, being stuck with family members that maybe you don't always want to be stuck with all 24/7, definitely took a toll. But what I would have suggested before is what I'm going to suggest again. We just have to adjust. That's the main thing that you have to do. Unfortunately, there's some situations that are going to come in life that are just going to be beyond our control, and this is one of them. This is probably the one that all of us collectively have to deal with, like if we never had to deal with before. And so the main thing to do is to adjust to the circumstances. We know that you have to move to online. We know that you have to work from home. So find a dedicated space within your house. Just find a quiet space. You decorate it as you like. I have to study in my room right now, so I made sure that I decorated my room to, just to help me to be better focused, help me to feel as though I'm both inside and outside. So you have a dedicated workspace. You also try to minimize the amount of information that you take from online because that has been overwhelming persons as well. You're reading it on the news 24/7. Every minute if you go online, you see an update about coronavirus. Try to minimize your intake of the news. In addition to that, you would want to try to do as many things as possible that you can do indoor. And if you do get the outdoor time, as we're things are loosening up now, so we do get to go outside. So try to exercise as much as possible. Try to interact with people as much as possible. Don't take this social distancing as in, oh, you have to be distant socially. You have to be physically distant, but make sure that you remain that social connection. Don't cut yourself off from people. It is probably the worst thing that you can do in this time. I understand that people feel like they need this heightened need to protect themselves, but while protecting yourself, make sure that you remain connected with your family and with your friends. And in addition to that, just find a new hobby. During this experience, I would have become somewhat of a chef because I would have tried to just learn as many things as I possibly can about cooking. So I've been doing that as an extra hobby just to take my mind off of things and feel a bit more relaxed. So that would definitely be what I would suggest to young people. Just try to find new things. And even though we know that we have to be stuck on Zoom all the time, just try to take breaks in between and do something away from the screen because it's necessary that we spend time away from the screen, which we've become somewhat attached to. So yeah.
Yes, because it can look like that every day is starting and ending the same. If I'm imagining myself, it's starting with computer, it's finishing with my computer, and everything is the same. So, like me, and I suppose a lot of people that are in the same circumstances are fighting against this because this is some kind of isolation. And no matter how, like, that you should learn new things, I think that a lot of people are addicted to video series, to Netflix, and to a lot of things that they are thinking, okay, now I can watch it and it will give me something. But maybe we can also try to mention this topic because I'm finding it really important that people, like, after watching a lot of videos, movies, especially during pandemic, because I think that Netflix raised more than double. I don't know like what were really statistics, but it was disaster. Like what that this is causing also some kind of depression. Like it's giving you just mentally, like temporarily, like, feeling that you're good, but after this is finishing, you're falling more down than you've been on the beginning.
Yeah, that's the real problem. And that is what I think mental health professionals, as well as persons who work in the area of mental health, are trying to figure out how exactly do we remove this idea, okay, I'm looking at this Netflix video or I'm looking at YouTube videos, I'm feeling this temporary satisfaction, but when I moved away from that, it's like, okay, what do I do now? You can't spend 24 hours every day on, on Netflix or on YouTube because it's unhealthy. But then we find that the very things that we're recommending that you do, yes, you do need to take some time to look at a movie or to look at a video and laugh. But the very thing that we're recommending done excessively could actually result in a worsened case of a mental health illness. So in that case, I would suggest that they reach out to someone if it is that they feel as though they're struggling to move away from the screen. Just reach out to someone, call somebody, just try as best as possible to allocate a certain amount of time to Netflix. I know it's very hard to move away from the screen when it is that you're binge watching your favorite show, but think about the implications that it will have on you after, right? And then that's losing productivity because you could actually be reading a book, you could be sitting outside enjoying the sun, something else other than just sitting in front of the screen all day. It is going to be a challenge, and we know that it's going to be a challenge, particularly for young people. But we just want to try to figure out exactly how can we push this narrative that you need to better manage your time and you need to find ways to be productive other than being in front of the screen all day. But At the same time, just if it is that it's working for you though, do it, but just manage it. It would be my suggestion. Manage it as best as you can. And if you can't, reach out to somebody.
And now when we are speaking about this really interesting topic, have you maybe watched Social Dilemma, this controversial documentary movie about like the social media disaster? And miracle is that Netflix made this movie, and Netflix actually has the same algorithm how is actually making you all the time to be stuck with Netflix, like with all of those things. Have you maybe watched this movie? Do you have something to tell us about it? Fundamental.
Unfortunately, no, I've not yet watched it because I've been on the go with my master's so far, so I haven't gotten a chance to. But as soon as I can, I will because my professors would have actually mentioned it as well as something that we should check out. But I haven't gotten around to it as yet. But it's quite interesting that they would make such a film talking about this screen addiction when it is that they're responsible for this screen addiction. But as soon as I get around to it, I will definitely have a look.
Yeah, I would say that Netflix is a huge hypocrite. I don't know why I hate it so much, but I think it's because it's making addiction, and I saw so much my friends that are playing games, online games, or watching Netflix, and it's driving me crazy because, like, especially during pandemic, people are not having a feeling that their life is interesting, and they are trying to find another one. So once when we cannot actually fight the depression that we are surviving or anxiety, we can actually call you or make appointment on your Facebook page that I will put down in description a few times, International Movement YouTube, and we can actually make appointment for free. And could you please tell us something more about this? How can we approach you? What we need to tell you? Who is welcome? All of those things that might be interesting for our readers and listeners.
Yeah, definitely. So, although we are named the Wellness Center Guyana, we have, for the sake of this pandemic, because as I mentioned, we're all facing the same thing right now. So, we know that persons beyond our scope might be in need of this assistance. So, everyone can reach out to us. And we've actually had persons outside of Guyana who would have created appointments. So, our appointment system will be up and running again from November 1st, because as I mentioned, we were fully booked for the month of October. So from November 1st, we will be up and running again, and persons will just be able to log on to Facebook, go to the Wellness Center Guyana's page, and they'll be able to click on the appointment button and select a time appropriate for them. We would have been able to incorporate some additional time. So instead of just 2 days a week, now we're going to have sessions 5 days a week, as well as some additional timings during the day. So anybody who needs that help, who feels as though they're feeling isolated, they're feeling as though they're in a prison, a mental prison especially, and they don't know who to turn to or what to do, please feel free to reach out to us. We have a trained counselor who is going to be conducting these sessions. In addition to that, we are going to be having another counselor that's going to be coming on board. They're both psychologists. So definitely you know that you're going to be getting assistance from somebody qualified and certified to provide you with that help. And in addition to that, as you mentioned previously, Navina, the services are free. So you don't have to feel pressured, okay, if it is that you can't afford it. We're making it affordable. Well, we're making it free so that you can definitely afford to come. So please don't hesitate. If it is that you need help, just click the appointment button and select an appropriate time.
And what's like, I know that you have now 1 month and a half experience with this online concealers, online like therapy, but what can you recognize as the main problem that young people are facing now?
All right, so there are many problems that we are facing now that we have been facing since about March of this year. And definitely the first one I would say is the inability to cope. Because persons are feeling as though, like, how exactly do I cope with this? I don't know when it's going to end. And that fear of the unknown, that fear of, okay, what is going to happen to my job? What is going to happen to the world over? Are things ever going to go back to normal? And then the fact that they're pushing this new idea now, okay, no, it's not going to go back to normal. We're going to have to adjust and create this new normal, and that has a lot of persons being feeling anxious. So it's the inability to cope with just having to be isolated, having to feel, cut off from everybody. And it's of course the fact that you have that anxiety about the future. And in addition to that, grief. grief has been playing quite a huge part in this spike for mental health illnesses or issues within the past few months. Because apart from feeling isolated, feeling anxious about the future, persons have lost loved ones. I myself included would have lost both my father and my grandfather within the space of a month during this year.
Oh my God, so sorry
I
to hear it.
Yeah, so I know what it feels like to be going through a pandemic, have all of these uncertainties, and then lose someone that you're so close to that you can't even say goodbye to because there are travel restrictions within my country. Well, they were at that particular period of time. So that has been playing quite a significant role as it relates to the spike that we've been seeing. And it's not just grief in terms of people, but it's grief in terms of what you've lost economically as well. As you lost your job, you're going to grieve about it. You know, you lost your ability to have your wedding or to graduate. All of these things have been taking a toll on us because persons are feeling as though, okay, you're not only isolated, but you lost your sense of freedom. I can't go outside. I can't travel. I can't graduate in this nice setting that that everybody else would have had prior to me, you know. And it's that feeling of, for me personally, it's also why me, why this year? Because I started my master's this year and it's like everything is online. So I don't have that experience of what others would have experienced before me coming and having this big gathering, having this big opening ceremony. I can't have it. Everything is just via Zoom. And as many of my classmates have been saying, we're already zoomed out a month in and we still have months to go. So it is those feelings of being of losing your freedom and just feeling isolated, I think, is what has been taking a significant toll. And that is why they've been turning to social media or they've been turning to Netflix, who I believe is just taking advantage of the situation, in my view. But of course, that's capitalism for you. So that is going to happen. But I think we just have to find ways around it and just be a bit stronger for a bit longer. I know it's hard, but just push on. It was going to change because the two more certain things in life, and I'm just going to focus on one, it's change. So we know that this is not going to stay this way forever. It's going to change eventually and just look forward, you know, find hope in that little sentiment that things will change. We've already seen some things loosening up, so we know eventually it's going to get better.
Well, those are really nice words of hope, but I think that the most important thing and something that is causing so much fear is that we don't know when it's going to end, when it actually is going to end. And I also saw that you launched one campaign, like Help to Helpers. And if I got it well, this is help to medicine workers or not. I wasn't sure what is.
Sure. So the Help the Helper campaign is actually for frontline workers. So we know that we've all been experiencing quite a lot of mental fatigue during this period, but I cannot imagine what it's like to be a health professional during this period of time. A frontline worker, whether it be a doctor, whether it be even a janitor. I can't imagine what it's like because you have to be on call all the time. You're dealing with people way more than you're accustomed to dealing with. And then you still have your own family, your own safety, and your family safety that you have to think about. And we've seen a lot of cases whereby mental health workers within my country, I believe it was last month, there were over 200 nurses that were tested positive within our local hospital. So I can't imagine what they were going through mentally. So what I decided to do is that I should have a campaign that's dedicated just to them, that is going to help them to better take care of their mental health. So we did care packages, mental health type care packages with different aromatherapy items, and we provided them with that, and just gave them a little talk on how best that they can take care of their mental health. We know it's hard as ever, harder for them than it is for us, because the fact is we're dealing with it, yes, but they also have to deal with the persons who are sick, and they're also dealing just as we are. So we had that campaign and they were very receptive. They were very appreciative of the fact that we took the time out to give them something that can better their mental health. And we hope to continue doing it not just at the main hospital, but all of the hospitals across Guyana.
And who are your therapists? With how many people are you collaborating?
So we have three therapists that we usually connect persons with, and one is a psychotherapist and two psychologists. So If it is that a person needs assistance that is beyond our scope or our in internal therapist, if it's beyond her scope or her reach as it relates to a particular topic, then we would refer them to another therapist. However, when it is that we're doing referrals, those are usually chargeable because we're referring them to therapists who have practices, who have offices or clinics. So we have about three of them that we work with locally, and we're trying as best to expand that. But the truth is, in Guyana, the mental health care professionals, they're limited. So we're hoping that when graduation comes around in November, that we're going to have a new batch of them, and we're hoping to collaborate with as many as possible.
And
But for now,
is there any way of Use Time International Movement? How can we, with our Use Time magazine, also to support you, to support your story, and maybe to open application call for more therapies that can help you? Or is there any way how can we like open the call for funding your project or anything?
okay. Well, definitely, that is definitely needed because, as I mentioned, the mandate of our organization is not just to provide these services, but to provide them for free. And although we're providing them for free, is at a cost to us. So definitely, any assistance that we can get to continue funding for the organization so that we can continue to provide these services on a larger scale for free to the public would be much appreciated. And in addition to that, one of my main focuses for the balance of this year into next year is to see how many international therapists we can collaborate with. Because the therapists locally, they're great, they've been phenomenal so far, but they're limited. So if it is that we can get a chance to connect with therapists or other mental health professionals, psychologists, psychotherapists that are abroad in Europe, in the US, wherever we can, because we want to be able to do better research as it relates to the mental health needs within the country so that we can better cater to persons. In addition to that, we want to be able to offer the counseling on a larger scale. So instead of just 5 days a week for a few hours, we want to be able to offer 24 hours if it's possible. And we know it's possible because it's being done in the developed world. So I want to push as much as I possibly can to get a collaboration with other mental health professionals, as well as, of course, continued funding so that we can provide these type of services and enhance our portfolio of services that we can provide.
Okay, we will discuss about this further. Now, what's crossing my mind is application call, like for psychotherapists, psychologicals, and all other enthusiastic people who are ready and have a great will to help. And I'm pretty much sure that we will do it together because without support, nothing can actually be done. And I'm really impressed by your story because people are like now, like during the COVID situation, if you measure only 7 months passed, like yes, 7 months, like from March till now, and I'm having a feeling that 7 years was in between. Like we made a huge gap, and all of us need some like mental health, like to think about our health and to try to cure all of those causes that were caused by COVID. So I'm really impressed by you and your team, what you are doing, and the force that you are putting in all of this. So let's get back to wellness center again, to online therapy. Like, is it okay, like for people to come from all of those ages, to come and to, or it's only for young people? Do you have some age limits?
Okay, yeah. So initially we were thinking, okay, let's just do a child mental health clinic because we saw that there was a significant spike according to the local professionals. They were telling us, okay, there was a significant spike and there wasn't anybody to fill the needs to counsel these children. So initially we said, okay, let's just make it a child and adolescent mental health clinic. But as the months progressed and we noticed, no, 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 more and more adults are reaching out across a wide array of ages and genders as well. So we decided, no, let's make it open. So it's for children, it's for young people, and it's for adults. If it is that you're 5 or 65, you can definitely reach out and get the assistance. Of course, for the children, they would need to be accompanied by a parent. So we need to get permission to counsel the child as is usual. But for anybody 18 and over, they're able to just log on and create an appointment. So it's for everybody who needs the help. We all need a mental detox right now, as you would have rightfully said. So if you just need somebody to talk to or to just offload, feel free to connect.
And I also wanted to ask, could you please describe us how does it look like when you are on online therapy, just to illustrate to people how it will look like once when they decide to call? Because you know that people are scared of therapy. They are thinking usually they're crazy.
Yeah. Okay, so definitely it's a judgment-free zone. That's one of the things that we push. So there's no stigma attached. Well, we know that there's stigma attached generally, but not within the organization. We're pushing to create a stigma-free zone. So definitely you don't have to feel that way. Unfortunately, it will be via an online platform like Zoom. It won't be Zoom, but it's going to be unless you choose to have it done via Zoom, of course. But it's done via an online platform. Video is usually required. If it is that you don't want to have video, you can make the request and we'll see how best we can accomplish that. It's harder to do it without a video because it's already not in person. And we want you to feel as comfortable as possible. So that's why we encourage you to put on your video. But it's going to be on an online platform pretty much like this, but it's going to be very interactive. And of course, she's there to listen and to give constructive feedback to you, as in, this is what you can do, and she's going to give exercises and various methods that you can employ to help to improve your mental health.
And do you know maybe when are we going to have reviews or testimonials from all of those people, of course, anonymous, just to take a look when how does it look like and how much did it help to them? And I'm pretty much sure it helped them a lot.
Yeah, definitely. So we have quite a few persons that are repeat clients. So they didn't just have one session, they're having sessions each week, which means that it's working for them. So with those persons, after about 6 weeks of therapy, we're going to be able to get a proper feedback from them. Okay, has anything improved within that space of time? We don't want to limit it to a month because sometimes your situation might only improve a little during the month, but some other persons might have a wider impact within that month, but we're waiting for about a 6 week scope. So mid-November, we're definitely looking by mid-November to have testimonials provided.
Oh, great. Then we are going to be able to watch it and then actually to see the impact of the your organization. And just one question before the end, because we are close to end. Like, what would you recommend to all of those young and adult people who are actually now struggling with this really ungrateful situation?
Yeah, this is quite an unprecedented situation. I don't think anybody in our time would have ever had to deal with such a situation or would have ever thought that we would be dealing with such a situation. So it is new, and I think that because it's new, because of the impact that it has had worldwide, and because, as you rightfully mentioned, we don't know when it's going to end, those are the things that have been weighing the most upon our shoulders. But as I previously mentioned, some things are beyond our control, and this, as we can see, definitely is beyond any individual's control. So, as much as it's hard to give in to the fact of the uncontrollable, sometimes you just have to give in, and you don't let it take control of you. So we know that we can't control it, we adjust, we adapt. So you know that you have to do the Zoom meetings. Unfortunately, yes, we do. So we log on, we do them, but we take breaks in between. Get outside as much as possible, as safely as possible, of course, and just be responsible. Be responsible for your health and the health of others, because at the same time that we want to make sure that we go back to normal as soon as possible, we're still very much dealing with the pandemic. It is at present getting a bit worse in certain areas, so we still need to be responsible in how we are interacting. So interact as much as possible, whether it is that you call your friends, you text your friends, you check in. As I mentioned, be practice the physical distancing, but still keep social, and keep social by just making sure that you check in on your friends and your loved ones. Don't isolate yourself, although you have to self isolate. Just don't keep isolated from anybody else. And try new things and get outside as much as possible. Get outside as much as possible. And in addition to that, there's meditation, there's yoga, there's just deep breathing exercises. We will be bringing a series very soon on our page as well that focuses on different alternatives that you can try indoor, because we like to push the outdoor activities, but we're trying to see how much we can bring indoor that you can still try and feel relaxed And of course, take self care days. Practice self care as much as possible. It can be the simplest thing as washing your hair or taking a bath, or it could be something even further than that. But whatever you can do, do it. A small step or micro steps every day is better than just sitting down and wallowing in, oh, when will this end, and letting it overwhelm you. So take small steps to improve your mental health by just showing yourself care, showing yourself love, and of course, be kind to your mind.
Well, dear Shinelle, thank you very much for this really interesting and nice interview. I already feel like I was into therapy, so I already feel better and ready to work harder. I will write all descriptions where people can actually find you, where can they support you, and how they can actually reach your mental health consulting online platform. Thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome. And just one last thing, I just have to say a significant and huge thank you to Youth Time International Movement again for all of their support. They have been supporting me from day one and they continue to support me, and I must express my gratitude to them because without Youth Time this wouldn't be possible. So I must say thank you.
Well, you're welcome. We are going always to support our winners and great stories that you're making, and we are really proud for all of you. And we are trying to connect you all because now the only positive thing that I can find out from this situation is solidarity, and I think that this would be the main word that we should actually improve in the practice. And this is something that feel like we are going to be more and more connected. And I think that from this situation we can take this to make more connections, to actually we now have a time to read actually our stories, to put our minds all together, and once when everything will be finished, we will be ready to start, but from different perspective. And I think that the best thing is that nothing is considered. It's not considered that you can hug someone, that you can be loved, that you can go outside. So like maybe once when you think about life like not considered thing, you will appreciate it more. So like we are not considering also that you would be able to make the interview with us, and we are really grateful that you're actually sharing your story with us and replying on, I don't know, 50 emails every day for me. So like we are also really grateful and so proud of you and all of your projects.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shinelle.